So my advice to you is just don't take your shoes off until you get up into cruise, and then if you want to take your shoes and socks off, it's a little bit gross on the floor, but that's your choice. Now into the film here, you saw that section where Tom is waking up and that netting drops off. That's from the bunk area. So the pilots on some planes have a netting there just so you don't get bumped out in turbulence. We don't have that on the 7th floor. I guess, I don't know, they don't think we're going to fall out of bed. Our beds are a little lower. I think their beds on this aircraft are stacked. So if you're in the upper bunk, they don't want you to fall out. I guess kind of like bunk beds. So that netting that's dropping out is just something that is used to keep the pilots into the bed so they don't fall out if there's turbulence. When you're crossing an ocean, even now, some airlines are requiring pilots to do paper plotting charts. And essentially, when you get your flight plan from the dispatcher, it's going to have a route that you're going to fly over the ocean. From there, you're going to draw on a chart exactly each spot you're going to be crossing, and there's certain waypoints or checkpoints that you're going to be crossing. The chart you're going to get is going to look something like this. This is a mid-Pacific chart, and on the back here, you have a West Pacific plotting chart. So essentially, once you get your flight plan, you're going to draw out exactly where you're going to be. So that line that you saw them draw, that highlighted line, that's essentially where they should be on course. Once you're in flight, you're going to get the GPS coordinates from the plane, and you're going to verify it against your plotting chart. You're going to verify that you are on your scheduled flight plan, and the plane is where it's supposed to be, and you are where you think you are, and you're going to verify as you're crossing the ocean those different waypoints as you go along. Now, something to keep in mind is you're generally not going to end up 200 nautical miles off of your course. To give you an idea, that would be like the distance from New York to Washington, D.C. You might go 10 or 15 miles off a course. You're generally not going to go 200 miles off a course to get around a storm. Ain't nobody got time for that. Before you even leave, your dispatchers are going to give you a dispatch sheet with all the weather on it. It's going to look like this. That weather is going to show your route of flight, which is the red line is that you're going to be flying, and then it's going to show you any weather, where the winds are, all these different things, and you're going to get that packet before you even get to the plane. Now, this is an example of a flight that I was doing from Japan to the U.S., so you can see there's no real inclement weather that's going to be on that route of flight. If you were going to have a storm that was going to be so large that you were going to have to deviate 200 miles, that's not really likely. That's not going to be something that's going to occur right now with technology the way it is with weather. You're not going to have a dispatcher that's going to send you there, and if you're looking at the weather before you go, which you should be, you're not going to go, yeah, that's fine, I'll fly to that massive thunderstorm, no big deal. That is not how you're going to do it. So the relief pilot, the pilot jumps out of the bunk, says, did you try a higher frequency?
A higher HF frequency.
Before you start your ocean crossing, you're going to get a primary and a secondary radio frequency to reach them on. And those are going to be high-frequency radio stations that you're going to reach them on. Now, you wouldn't randomly just go, oh, I'm going to try a different high frequency, or I'm going to try a different frequency to reach them on. That's just not how it works. If you've ever flown a plane, you know you can't just randomly tune up a radio and hope that someone's going to be there. What you have is that primary and your secondary frequency that you would try to reach them on. There's a few other ways to communicate with the planes around you, but he's not talking about that. He's talking about high frequencies, your primary and secondary. Now, this movie came out in 2000. More and more what you're having is something called CPDLC. CPDLC is Controller Pilot Data Link Communication. It's a way for the pilot and air traffic control basically to send text messages back and forth. And you're able to request an altitude, descent or climb, or offset for weather, whatever it is. You're able to do that via text message. Here's an example of a CPDLC message that I received on a flight a couple days ago. I knew I was going to make this movie. So here's an example of what a CPDLC message would look like. Air traffic control is writing to us, and we're replying back to them. Roger. That's a way for us to communicate back and forth, so that way you're not having to talk on these HF frequencies, which, as you can hear, they're very scratchy and they're not that reliable.
You want to sit with mommy? He wanted to be up there instead. Yeah, that's too bad. Buddy's been seeing things outside the window lately. A few days. Around this time. What's happening outside, buddy? Bud, what's outside? Huh? Buddy, so focused. What are you looking at? There must be something happening outside at 2 a.m. This guy's been on neighborhood watch. I don't know what he's up to. What have you been seeing, buddy? What's outside? Aww. All 10 to me. Thanks, the crow. Meow. That's where, buddy, what's outside? What's outside? Huh? What's out there? What's out there? Huh? What are you looking at, being so attentive? The bed? Aw. Thanks, Micah. I have no idea what he's looking at. Bud. He's definitely focused on something. What was it, Michelle? Not Micah? Me.
Stuff in that movie, that's kind of why I'm laughing. There's some things he says like, I'm bringing it down and out. That's not something you would ever say, even in a normal situation, let alone emergency. And they're both all just screaming out words. Nobody's really doing anything. In a real emergency, something like that, you have a quick reference handbook, a QRH, and you're reading through a checklist to do certain tasks. So you're going through those tasks. One guy's reading it, the other guy's doing it, or one guy's reading it and doing it, the other guy's flying. But nobody's in any situation are both people just screaming out random words and hitting switches. That is not how it works in a real emergency. When you're down to 10,000 feet or 14,000 feet, depending on what your company's policies are and where you're at flying, obviously they're over the ocean, so 10,000 feet is fine. But once you're down to that altitude, you can take your mask off. However, they were at 35,000 feet. there is something missing, like wings. And two, you're not going to want to accelerate in a descent with a rapid or explosive decompression. And here's why. If you have a rapid or explosive decompression and you don't know what the status is or what the hull of your aircraft is looking like, and you are now accelerating your aircraft, you might have pieces of the hull that are holding on, but it might be out into the wind. And if you accelerate, you may end up ripping more of your hull apart, and now the whole plane is lost. So if you have a rapid or explosive decompression, one, you're going to want to get down as quickly as you can, yet statuses of your aircraft, you're not going to want to accelerate because that can damage your aircraft even more. In a lot of cases, what you'll do is you'll hit a speed descent mode, so you hold that speed. You'll do your speed brakes, which are those things that come up on the wings to help you slow down, and obviously you're going to pull your throttles to idle, and you're going to go down as fast as you can, but while maintaining that speed. So that way, whatever is out there that's surviving right now is probably going to survive at that speed as you go down. If you know what the current situation is and that the hull of the aircraft is fine, well, then you might want to accelerate and get down at the maximum speed that the airplane can go. But if you're unsure, then you're not going to want to accelerate like what they're doing. They obviously had an explosive decompression. Nobody knows exactly what is going on. So you're not going to accelerate it, and you're not going to make it down in a minute. You're not going to get 25,000 feet in a minute. That's just not going to happen. All right, let's get back to the movie. Without holding on to anything, because if you do that, you might get thrown up into the ceiling and smash your head. So don't do that. Okay, all right, we'll talk. Because then you may end up having two people hurt and nobody's getting help. So I know in situations when I've been flying with some turbulence, I usually call ahead to the flight attendants and let them know, hey, why calling? But if they're not near a phone, then it can make it even harder for them. They may be trying to get to the phone in order to get there to find out what's going on. So in my case, what I always do, if there's some turbulence that we're hitting where I think it's about to get even worse, I'll just make a PA and say, flight attendants, take your seats. So they'll either hold on to something, or if they're near their seats, they'll sit down and buckle in. Regardless, I want to make sure that they're safe. And that's why you'll always, your pilots and flight attendants tell you, while you're seated, buckle your seatbelt. Because we don't always know the turbulence that we're going to hit. In some cases we do know, we don't always know. And that's the reason why. While I'm up on the flight deck, I always have my seatbelt buckled. It's not a big deal. Just keep your seatbelt buckled, and that way, if there is any turbulence, you're not getting thrown up into the cockpit, into the buttons, or anything that's up there. And if you're sitting in the back, you're not getting thrown out of your seat or having anything that is going to damage or hurt you. So it's important that you do that. Now on the cargo, you saw me laughing when those things were sliding out, and here's why. On the front side of those, which is for a lateral movement, of the plane going forward and backwards, there's these heavy blockers that are in there, and they're set for each cargo container so it can only move a little bit forward and backwards. And on the side, you'll have these latches which prevent it from popping out of its spot or sliding left or right. They're in these rails so they can't go and pop out. And every flight, if you're flying cargo, before the plane even takes off, one of the pilots will go walk the deck. And while they're doing that, they're verifying all these latches are in place for the whole plane. And that's to make sure that if you're in turbulence or in takeoff or whatever it is, when things are moving around, that these things are not flying out of place. So that's something that is never going to happen regardless of how turbulent the plane is. Those things are not going to start bouncing around. All right, let's get back to the movie. talking about the ditching switch, and he says in there, ditching switch on. So the ditching switch is basically something that's going to close a lot of the valves. Now in this scenario, the plane obviously has a huge hole in it. You're going to go crash in the ocean. There's 5 people on board. You're all going to get off in the first 20 or 30 seconds, and the plane is going to be lost no matter what. So a ditching switch in this situation is not going to help you. But that's essentially what he's saying, is ditching switch on is be on some checklist, on some aircraft, you'll have a ditching switch, which is to close some of the valves to make the plane float a bit longer. They're in a storm with a huge hole in the plane. That plane is going to be sinking pretty quick anyway. So those 5 guys are going to get out fine and hopefully get into the raft that truck is holding. But that's what a ditching switch is. And I just pause it because I know in that solo video a lot of people like talking about the ditching switch. So let's finish this video. The end of that film. Now you saw it as they're coming in there, he says, I got a visual. Well, yeah, you're looking at a wall of water. So at that speed, with that size of an aircraft, if you're looking at a wall of water, you're going to be in a very steep nosedive or facing a huge swell. So your plane's not going to make it through there. And obviously I realized it was a movie. It definitely wasn't an aviation designed movie, but I wanted to address this because it has a lot of very technical aspects. And I know that a lot of you were looking for some more technical things about aviation. So hopefully I answered some questions for you. Now I put a link to the film Castaway in the description below. It is actually a great movie. Tom Hanks does a fantastic job. It is not easy to make a movie that long where you're basically by yourself. He does an amazing job in the movie. So if you haven't watched it, I definitely recommend it. It is a great movie. Alright crew, in the comments below, let me know, did you like this more technical aspect of aviation as I reviewed this movie, or did you prefer Sully, which is more of a general overlay? I look forward to hearing from you. Until then, keep the blue side up. Hey crew, what's going on? Today I'm doing a pilot reaction video on the Flight movie starring Denzel Washington. If you're not familiar with it, basically Denzel has a drinking problem and he goes flying when he's drunk after having a long night partying with a flight attendant. In one of the famous scenes of the movie, he's actually flying the plane inverted, and I had some people asking me when I did the pilot reaction video on American Made, they were asking me some of the technical aspects of this movie and how real it was. So we're going to go over this movie and see how real it is. I got a couple aviation clips and we'll watch those together. I'm going to start off with the trailer and then we'll go.
Yeah, come on inside. I'll shoot you inside. This was an act of God. Those God would do this.
Our investigators concluded the aircraft failed.
The FAA placed 10 pilots in simulators, recreated the events. Every pilot killed everybody on board. You were the only one who could do it.
you're a pilot or just an aviation enthusiast, consider subscribing. All right, let's get into this film. First clip. That's pretty accurate. Usually you're flying with, especially the airlines, you're flying with random people all the time. So you may have seen somebody passing them in a jet bridge or in the airport or in the crew room, something like that. So that's pretty normal to have that scenario. Now I've done this before where they say if you're really tired that taking that oxygen really will help oxygenate your blood and wake you up. And I've had really early morning flights and I thought, okay, maybe I'll try this and see if it works because you're supposed to check the oxygen anyways. I put it on just to see and I didn't really, some people it seems to work. Some people told me, oh man, I feel so much better and everything's really clear and the lights are really clear. It doesn't really have any effect on me. But I want you to notice when he puts the oxygen mask on him, you see the tubes that are around the outside and they expand and they get big. The actual oxygen is going in there and the reason for that is when you click that mask, when you pull it out, you grab the two little nozzles that he's using, that expands those bands essentially. So you can pull that out and with one hand, those bands will then go around your head and let go and it will clamp onto your face. So you notice when he pulls that out, you see those bands inflate. That's the reason why it does that. When you do the oxygen check, you do not put the mask on generally. Usually you pull it out and make sure that it's clean cloth, you have to spilled over it. Some guys will just hit the button and make sure that it's actually blowing through your speaker system, meaning the mic inside the oxygen mask is working. In the event that you need to put it on, that you're able to talk on the radio through your oxygen mask. But normally you don't have that. Where there's no additional talking below 10,000 feet, and a lot of times that doesn't happen where there's no additional chatter. But almost always on the takeoff roll, it's business. You don't have guys making additional comments or things like that. 99% of the time, you wouldn't generally get a guy making jokes like that on takeoff.
do this crap. Let's work with you.
No proceeding, sir.
Trying to get out of this shitty air, if that's all right with you. This is subject.
Lost his hydraulics because generally, well, I'm guessing on this plane, the hydraulics control the elevator and possibly the ailerons. It's different on every plane, but I'm guessing that's why he's saying turn on the backup pumps. He's thinking that they've lost hydraulics on one of the systems. He's trying to go to a backup.